What is going on, guys and gals? Brooklyn-bound the Raid Scientist here, and today we're covering the latest Grandmaster Nightfall, Fallen S.A.B.E.R. This is the fourth Grandmaster released in Season 13, and in this video we're going to break down all the strategies, tips, tricks, and loadouts to get you prepared to take this on. Remember that the Grandmasters this season offer adept weapons that rotate weekly and adept mods, along with exotics galore and ascendant shards and prisms. So, well worth doing. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Feel free to check out all the Destiny guides and content across it. And if you're already subbed to the channel, well, then as I've mentioned before, you are a genuine badass. So, let's go. The Grandmaster Fallen S.A.B.E.R. is up, and once again, you're going to need to balance out your loadouts and decide on a strategy in order to be successful. I'll cover subclass and class choices first. There are two completely different strategies you can try in this one, mainly because of the tight rooms, pillars, and stairwells that you can use for cover. While as usual, there are probably 100 combinations of classes and subclasses you could choose, I'd recommend either going fully defensive or fully offensive. For defense, Ursa Titan reigns supreme once again, especially if you have two Titans that can literally chain banner shields back and forth. For Warlocks, Well of Radiance is great, especially once you get inside and in the boss room. Although Sniper Shanks and Vandals can still one-shot you in a well if you are low resilience or no sniper resist mods. Hunters, Bottom Tree Night Stalker with smoke for invis, and the Tether to more efficiently clear the rooms. If you want to go offensive, Stasis is very good here, especially on Warlocks and Hunters. Warlocks definitely want to take advantage of the Stasis turret to freeze enemies and champions. Silence and Squall is extremely helpful in the tighter rooms filled with enemies as well on the Hunter, and Warlocks could also consider running Chaos Reach with Geomag stabilizers as well if you want a very good offensive option that can burn champions and the boss. For Titan, if you don't want to run Banner Shield and want to go offensive, I'd probably recommend Thunder Crash with Curse of Falling Stars. This is extremely helpful in dealing massive damage to the final boss if he is pushing you, and remember that your main goal when fighting the boss is to burn him down fast to get him to his immune phases as fast as possible. Keep in mind, if using the Curse of Falling Stars, you will put yourself in harm's way, so make sure you get out quickly. For weapons, there are literally only a few shields in this entire strike. A few Arc Captains at the beginning, and a few regular Void Servitors at the beginning and end of the strike. Their shields can actually be easily stripped with a grenade or a melee with the proper subclass, or even a heavy, if you don't really want to run those elements. The first main choice you should be making is which bow to bring, because Overload Bow this season is, in my opinion, a lot better than SMGs. I used Lemon Arc on my first run of this, as the poison helped with the Overload Captains, but then I switched to Point of the Stag and Imperial Needle for future runs, which allowed me to use an exotic heavy. If you want to run an SMG, Risk Runner is actually very good in this strike due to the Fallen using primary arc weapons, and this will give you a shield a lot of the time, but it does take up your exotic slot. For anti-barrier, I honestly think Sniper Rifle is still the best this season, as you can use it to damage the boss in larger chunks if you are out of heavy. However, having one person in your fire team using a Scout Rifle for anti-barrier is not a bad idea, as anti-barrier sniper is reliant on everyone having special ammo, and if everyone is out or low, it could get hairy. For heavy, once again, Anarchy in my opinion is the best option. It's useful in literally every situation. Obviously not everyone has Anarchy, so I suggest that maybe you try Xenophage or maybe Izanagi's Burden as other exotic choices. I did not personally try Wither Horde, but the dot from it could be relatively effective if left under drop ships at the beginning or maybe under the boss. Finally, mods. As usual, Protective Light, Taking Charge, Sniper Resistance, Arc Resistance, Reserves for your Special and Heavy, Scavengers for your Special and Heavy, and Focusing Lens if you're using a light-powered subclass and have someone using Stasis in your fire team for the damage boost. Obviously, Anti-Barrier and Overloads mods needs to go with the weapons. By the way, does anyone else miss fallen armaments and fallen barrier, by the way? I know I do, for sure. Okay, so let's get into the details around each area of the strike and some tips and pointers for each area as well. When you first load in, you'll be in the Forgotten Shore public space, and look out for a public event flag that you can rally because they will give you your super. Push into the warsat area and be careful not to push too far and wait for the warsat to fall. You can get killed if you get too close, as the blast range is pretty large for some reason. Now, this first area is all about memorizing the spawns and where you should stand for each wave of adds. I'm going to throw up on the screen a summary at the end of this section for a reference. When you scan the warsat and stand in the circle to start capturing it, the first enemies will trigger at 1%. A fallen catch will come in, and your first goal should be to take out its gun in the front. It can one-shot you, so take cover. You won't see damage numbers on it, but it will flash as it takes damage, so it is destructible. Once cleared, hop back on and keep capturing until you get to about 20 to 25% and another wave of enemies will drop. This time containing those invisible marauders with the shrapnel launchers that will melt you, so focus on them first. Once cleared, again hop back on and capture until 33%, and another wave of marauders and dregs will drop, this time with an overload captain. My recommendation would be to have one person stun the captain while the other two focus on the marauders first. The marauders will push you a little bit more aggressively than the captain will, and once that wave is clear, you can focus on him. Then you'll hop back on and keep capturing until about 42%. Now, the first ship will leave and two new ships will come in, this time from the other side, so you'll need to reposition yourself towards the hill where you entered and take cover. This first wave of enemies from those two ships will have Vandal snipers, and they will push up on you. So I would worry about them first, as they will one-shot you. Then, once the snipers are clear, push up a little bit and focus on the cannons on the front of the catch, and then the remaining enemies. Then, return to start capturing again. At 50%, more enemies and a barrier servitor will spawn. At 65%, more snipers and dregs, and continue clearing these one wave at a time and return to the warsat afterwards. This will keep you from getting overrun. Once you get to 72%, another new ship will come in from the entrance side again. There will be an overload captain and a regular servitor. Don't forget to take out the cannons once again on this new ship. Keep clearing one wave at a time until you reach 100%. Make sure that you kill that final overload captain before you finish capturing the warsat, because you will not get platinum because everything despawns at 100%. Once completed, you'll be able to drop down and enter the bunker, and make your way into, my opinion, one of the most difficult rooms. It is loaded with enemies, snipers, shanks, champions in the back, and as you clear enemies, more and more will spawn. If you're running a defensive loadout, stay in the back and clear the enemies from behind a banner shield and a well of radiance. Make good use of the Titan walls and back up ever if necessary. Do not push forward in this room until it's mostly clear, as you could end up with a revive in a very difficult spot. Watch out for the marauders that will push you. If you're using offensive supers, start quickly unloading stasis grenades and focusing on the snipers in the back, and then the enemies up close on the left and right balconies. Use heavy for sure. Definitely don't want to be stingy on it here, because this is a pretty tough room. The box right in the middle and the balconies on the left and right can be used for cover, but the enemies still can push you there, and you don't want to immediately push up the steps until you've at least cleared some of the enemies on the balconies and the snipers in the back. You can back out of the room if needed, so keep this in mind if you start to get overrun. Once you finally clear the room once, you'll move up, destroy the fuse, and then the room will fill up all over again with enemies, starting with 4 exploder shanks and then some more overload captains. Use the pillars on the left and right for cover, and repeat the same strategies as the other side of the room using walls, rifts, and supers to survive the onslaught. Now you'll head into the dreaded arc pulse room, but it's actually pretty simple. First, carefully take out the sniper shanks that are in the back, and then have one person push up and grab the charge while the other two stay back. The charge runner can actually sprint down the line in one go without needing to cover by sliding repeatedly. This can alleviate the need to stop and wait for the pulses to pass. The other players need to be ready for the exploder shanks to spawn right where the orb needs to be deposited and take them out fast. It's important as the runner to 100% just go for the deposit, even if there's shanks nearby. As long as you have a revive token, dying here but still getting the orb slammed is completely fine. The arc pulses will despawn and you can finally push into the next room. Honestly, these next two rooms should be handled just like the first room. They are filled with enemies and champions, and snipers are typically in the back. So once again, either rotate defensive supers making orbs and blocking incoming fire, or make good use of cover and doors if you get overrun. I typically focus on the snipers and the groups of ads first, and then focus on the barrier servitors so they don't shield anyone. Finally, usually finishing with the overload captains. Take your time and team shot any champions so they don't regain their health, and you should be at the boss room shortly. Now, the boss area. This room has a lot of different strategies that I've seen. So let me cover some logistics first. The boss has two immune phases, one at 75% and one at 50%. Then you can damage him until he goes down. At 75% and 50%, he will go immune, teleport to the middle back of the room, and a barrier servitor will spawn. When it's destroyed, the boss will become damageable again. When the boss hits 25%, he'll enrage and go into super scary arc aggressive S.A.B.E.R mode and push you. So it's best to save some heavy and an offensive super if you're using them for this part. Secondly, his crit spots are in his corner jets for the first 50% of the fight, and then it'll be the cage on his face for the second half of the fight. As I mentioned, this fight is about pacing, as the room will get harder and harder as the fight progresses, so don't burn through all your heavy and special ammo at the start, and only use a little to get the boss to his critical health points. Now, where should you stand? I personally recommend going to the far right of the room by these pillars and using them for cover. You can hang out in this corner for the first 50% of the fight and stay relatively safe. Keep in mind that back here, the boss can get somewhat close to you as he does wander, but he can't fit through the opening, so if you move up or push back, he will typically go around. If he pushes you, make use of supers to protect yourself, or push him to his immune phase using a little bit of heavy, which will get rid of him. If he does get too close, he will AoE stomp you, even though he has no feet. So, like, what the hell is this, Bungie? Seriously? Anyway. For the entirety of the fight, focus on the shanks that will literally fill the room. Keep damaging the boss down to his first immune phase. Once that happens, he'll teleport back and more shanks and a barrier servitor will spawn. Take as many shakes out as you can and then focus on the servitor. Once it's dead, the boss will be damageable again, and you will literally repeat the same thing again, killing shanks and DPSing him from this safe area until he gets to 50%. Then he will go immune again, and now the electricity on the far right channel that you've been hiding by will actually activate. So at this point, you have two options. You can stay there, but just stay off the electricity path, but this does kind of prevent you from escaping that way. Or you can head to the left now as shown and use these blast doors for cover. Be sure if you move to take out as many of the shanks first so you don't get melted trying to move. Pay very close attention to the sniper shanks that will hover above the boss, and you can even duck down next to this cover to hide from them. Now, at 50%, the exploder shanks will start to continuously spawn and will not stop, as well as sniper shanks up in the vents way up on the ceiling. It's best to burn down the boss as fast as possible at this point, because the longer the fight drags on, the more chances of getting picked off by a sniper shank or getting killed by an exploder will happen. However, the boss does not get very aggressive, and the blast door's cover doesn't go down until he reaches about 25%. So, you may want to wait on a super or grab some heavy ammo if possible. Prepare for this final burn. When the sniper shanks spawn, shout it out loud because they will wreck you. When he does reach 25%, it's definitely burn time. Super, heavy, sniper, grenades, literally anything you can. He will be very aggressive and push you like no other, and the sniper shanks will spawn as well, and if not taken out, they will one-shot you if you're exposed. If you need to rotate to avoid the boss, do so, because if he gets too close to you, he'll take you down pretty quick. Keep plugging away and he should go down pretty quick, as he doesn't have a very large health pool overall. Once he's down, collect your rewards and finally breathe out. You'll have completed the Grandmaster Fallen S.A.B.E.R and can collect those adept mods, weapons, and exotics. Hopefully this guide helps you out, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and share and comment below. What loot did you get? What boss strategy did you use? Did you prefer offensive or defensive supers for this one? I truly want to know. Until next time, Guardians, best of luck.